Hello, Mr. Burchett. It's your two favorite students here,
Hannah
and MJ. And we are here to talk to you about the brain. Alright, so before we get on to the more scientific interpretation of the brain, we're going to talk to you about how we actually made our model, which we'll show you in a minute. So basically, we had two ideas that we could do. We could do a literal interpretation of the brain and what it looks like and all the squiggly, squaggly whatevers. Or we could do a more symbolic, metaphorical interpretation, which, since our main theme is glass, we figured that maybe a more metaphorical thing could leave more room for creativity. So, that being said, let's show you what it looks like. Alright, so what Hannah's pointing to right now is the frontal lobe. Underneath that is the temporal. Underneath that is the parietal, and right there is the occipital. And in the middle we have this light bulb that we actually wired in that we kind of have to symbolize neurons and, like, you know, how you have ideas and all that, and also it really fits in with our theme of glass. So let's just give you a little bit of info on how we made it. First we had to actually go out and buy a skull. And we kind of, because the styrofoam was like really thick, we kind of had to dig into it, but after a while
it was not working.
Yeah, it was taking a lot of time, so we just decided to
blowtorch it.
Yeah, and that kind of really melted it up really quickly, and it kind of left a little hollow area for us to work with. And after that, we had kind of smoothed it out a little bit, and then we took some acrylic paint, mixed it up, kind of made it like this purple sort of steampunk theme to it, and we made some little spirals for each one of our little symbols that represented what we were trying to perceive what the brain did in which certain area. So, speaking of that, why don't we move on to actually what we had just showed you, which is the
lobes.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
There's 4 of them. The
Number
first
1
one is the frontal.
Number 2 is parietal.
The third one is occipital.
And the 4th is temporal.
Alright, so let's just start with the frontal. There's like 3 major parts to it. The one part that we demonstrated, and we kind of demonstrated another one, but not really, was the prefrontal, which is basically for like personality. And we represented that through like a little pin that you can wear, and it was like heart-shaped, and it was actually for Aragon. It had a little dragon on it, and we kind of both loved that book, and we thought it really represented our personality, and like we like to read and stuff, so we decided to add that. And then we had a little memory trip, which kind of represented
the motor area somewhat, because it does a little bit of memory.
Yeah, and then we have the final, which is the premotor, and that's basically all that makes up the frontal. You want to do the occipital?
The occipital is mainly just sight. It takes information from the retina and then brings it all the way back here, occipital, and it processes that information visually.
Alright, moving on to the temporal. We signified that through, we were going to use Scrabble letters, but we decided, I'd like to keep my Scrabble board, so we decided to cut out some scrapbook letters and kind of like glue them onto our little springs to represent language. But anyways, there's 3 parts to the temporal, which is you have the olfactory, the hippocampus, and the this one's kind of hard for me to pronounce, amygdala?
Amygdala?
Yeah. And anyways, those are all part of the limbic system. But as I said, we kind of went to represent that lobe through like language. And so that's why the letters are there.
And then finally the parietal lobe, which is used for cognition, information processing, speech, vision, and what we represented, pain and touch. For pain we use needles, and then for touch we also use sandpaper. So touch it, Awesome. And then?
Why don't we show you what it looks like when it's lit up. So we're going to light up the light bulb right now. And like we said, that kind of represents neurons and like sparks of ideas that you have in your head or whatever. Is it on?
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to turn off the light and it's going to get dark for a second and then you're going to see our project. All right.
And so what neurons do is they send messages from the brain throughout the body and then vice versa.
Yeah, they're basically what makes everything happen. So, that being said, that was pretty much our project.
However, there's more to the brain. Obviously, there's a lot to the brain, but some other important factors is the cerebellum.
Yeah, this one was really difficult for us because what we had chosen, the skull that we had chosen, there was, because it was kind of small, we didn't have too much room to represent the cerebellum after we had put in the light bulb and had done all the wiring. But we'll just tell you about it anyways.
So it's used for body movement and coordination, just stuff like that.
Yep. And that's basically it. That's our project. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was worth 200 points.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, Mr. Burchett.